was 6, I saw a picture of a wild beast being eaten by a boa constrictor. I was impressed. I did my best to draw a picture of my own. It looked like that. I asked the grown-ups if it frightened them. They answered, why be scared of a hat? But it was not a hat. It was an elephant. The boa was digesting. I filled the rest in. So they told me to apply myself to history and grammar. I never asked them why. And when I could choose my own career, I took the path that brought me here. I fly. A pilot is my vocation. Now imagine, if you can, my plane and I 1,000 meters high, while all around the stars conduct their nightly conversation.
The stars shone down kept their watch across the whole world. One evening, under their watch in the desert, the pilot lost control of his plane and crashed. He found himself alone, not a person in sight. He realized with some desperation that he would have to fix his plane himself, and he only had enough water to survive for 8 days. The first night, he went to sleep on the sand of the Sahara, more isolated than a shipwrecked sailor on a raft in the middle of the ocean. Imagine his amazement when, at sunrise, he was awakened by a little voice.
Please draw me a sheep.
What?
Draw me a sheep.
But what are you doing here?
Please draw me a sheep. What's that thing?
It isn't a thing. It's an airplane. It flies. I fly it.
So you dropped down from the sky? That's funny.
Don't laugh.
Please draw me a sheep.
It's no use asking, I can't draw.
That doesn't matter. I need a sheep to take back home. Please draw me a sheep. I need a sheep. Draw me a sheep. Please draw me a sheep.
All right. I'll do what I can.
This one is already quite sick. Draw me another.
What about this?
You can see for yourself that's not a sheep. It's a ram, it has horns.
Is this one better?
That sheep's too old. Draw me another. I want a sheep that will live for years. Draw me another one.
one more try. This is the crate, the sheep is inside. Take it or leave it, I've work to do.
This is just the kind I wanted. Look, he's sleeping.
If you're good, I'll draw you a rope to tie him up.
What a funny idea.
He might get lost, he might run away.
Where I live, he couldn't go far. It's all so small.
That's how the pilot met the little prince. It took days to find out more. He never answered the pilot's questions, or even heard them. It was the things he said by chance that, bit by bit, revealed the truth.
I like to look at sunsets. Let's go and find one. I can see the sunset anytime I want. When I'm at home on my tiny planet, I can see the sunset anytime I want. One day I saw the sunset 44 times. Sunsets are wonderful when you're feeling sad.
Could he really see 44 sunsets in one day? The pilot eventually learned that the prince came from a tiny planet in a far-off galaxy. Its name is asteroid B612. I'm telling you this for the sake of the grown-ups. Those of us who know about life don't care about names and numbers. On this tiny ball, which was his home, 3 volcanoes stood, luckily only 18 inches tall. One was extinct, but the other 2 were active and very convenient for heating his breakfast in the morning. He carefully tended to all 3 each day, even the extinct one. As he said, one never knows.
Will my sheep eat bushes?
Yes, of course.
Will my sheep eat baobabs too?
Baobab is a mighty tree, as tall as a church. It is the same as a sheep with a flower.
But even baobabs start off small. First they're seeds, then they sprout. That's the time to pull them out. Listen.
Ha ha ha.
Can't you hear them?
Ah.
Sleep, sleep, sleeping in the slime, dreaming of a life of crime. Snooze, 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 you little seas, dreaming of our dirty deeds. Wake, 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 where's the jump? Waste no time getting out of this dump. Who can we thump? Shake you up with a great big bump. Ha, ha, ha. We up, we up, we up, up, up. Out, out, better look out. Now is the time of the baobab. Sprout, sprout, hear our shout. Now you'll know what the fuss is about. Now we stretch each muscle and sinew. Big and bad, bad. Now we stick our roots right in you. Bad, bad, ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Big, big, bigger than enormous. Twice the size of Brontosaurus, bad, bad, better than the atrocious. Big bad baobabs are ferocious. Big and bad, you've been had, doing bits and fits and flying far in the endless void. It's all that's left of an asteroid. Ha 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 ha.
Ha 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 ha.
Ooh.
Ha 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 ha.
Oh. Ah.
Ha 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 ha.
If sheep eat bushes, will they eat flowers too?
A sheep will eat anything it can find.
Even flowers with thorns?
Don't bother me now. I'm working on something serious.
Serious? You talk like grown-ups. A man who says he's serious over and over isn't a man at all. He's just a mushroom.
On my planet there's a flower like no other in the skies. You would think she's vain and cruel if you looked with grown-up eyes. But I love her and I worry when she's out of doors, lest a sheep might crush her petals in his greedy jaws. If a flower is loved by someone, if that someone is a boy, he will watch the stars at midnight, he'll look up and laugh with joy. If his flower has been taken, stars will flee the sky, and he will see the blackness and he'll cry, and so will I. That's serious. That's serious.
He wept. I felt ashamed. What mattered now of my hammer, my thirst, my fear of death? On one star, my planet, the Earth, there was a little prince who needed to be comforted. I felt awkward. I did not know how I could reach him. It's such a secret place, the land of tears. Here, I'll draw a muzzle for your sheep. Then your flower won't be eaten.
The pilot could not understand the prince's feeling about this little flower, but in time he learned more. The prince had found his flower as a sprout. Flowers had always been very simple on his planet, but one day, from a seed blown from no one knew where, a new flower had come up. The little prince had watched over it very closely. It might have been a new kind of baobab. He'd watered her and tended her, and, having been present at the first appearance of a huge bud, felt at once something miraculous would appear. She took her time and dressed herself, slowly. Then, one morning, exactly at sunrise, she suddenly showed herself.
I'm hardly awake, forgive me. I'm still all untidy. Have you been waiting long?
Weeks and weeks, how lovely you are.
And I was born at the same time as the sun. I believe it's time for breakfast. Will you water me?
At once. How lovely you are.
I awoke at the stroke of a sunbeam's touch when the day was rising in view, and I fled from my bed to think I'm such a ragged, untidy guest, with my leaves in a tangle, and my branches at an angle, and my petals not pressed, as I only had a minute to get dressed. In case you think I'm weak or soft, see these spikes I hold aloft, sharpened for a deadly task.
What are they for?
I thought you'd never ask. These are the thorns with which a rose protects herself against her foes. With my thorns I'll do or dare, I'll slash the throat of a lunging bear. Even a tiger would offer a yelp if I attacked him with my help. There's a caterpillar crawling, how appalling!
Here, let me help you. I'll save a few to make the butterflies.
Ah, how brave you are. I wasn't afraid. The only thing I fear is a chill.
Don't worry. Here, now you'll be protected from the cold.
Oh, please don't put me under that glass. Take it away. How cruel.
What can I do to please you?
To please a rose, it's not enough to put her in a dome and admire her from afar. And if you wish to find the way to please a rose, you must be wiser than you are. Wherever the around us fly, planets you should roam. Find the answer if you can, then come home.
I'll go. I'll tidy up my 3 volcanoes, then I'll spread the ash. Goodbye, goodbye.
Must you go? Of course I love you. It's a shame you never knew I was silly. So were you.
The prince assumed he might never return to his planet, and so he tended to his 3 volcanoes, pulled up the last of the baobabs, and, having said goodbye to the rose, these final tasks felt all the more precious to him. He never knew how the rose had cried for him. She was far too proud. For his escape from his planet, he took advantage of the migration of a flock of wild birds. He started by visiting several nearby asteroids. At each planet, each grown-up was so preoccupied and selfish, he learned only that grown-ups are very strange. He first found himself on the planet of a king.
The world is full of many different things, and all are subject to the will of kings. Every person, every beast and flower owes allegiance to my awesome power. Road and river, elephant and dove, united in their obedience to myself. It's true that all the world does what I ask, but on the whole it's best if what I say is something that would happen anyway. If I turn my general to turn into a butterfly. Who'd be at fault if flitting round the floors was quite beyond his military powers?
Your Majesty.
A clever pupil, let me now expand. At 22 tonight I will command the setting sun to disappear from sight. And if my royal astronomy is right, the world will know the moment that it hides. Ice with the sun and plenty else besides.
Noting to himself that grown-ups are very strange, the prince moved on. The king, of course, would say that it was they who commanded it. The prince traveled next to the planet of the businessman, who was too busy to even look up.
11 and 10 is 21. Take it away, that leaves us none. What's that figure? Just a blot. 20,000.
But of what?
Now let's see if I'm right or not. 1,100,000.
What?
There's more to do, but not a lot. 250 million.
What?
I'm coming to the final decimal. Room for error is infinitesimal. Add it up, and what have I got? 501 million.
What?
My curiosity is mounting.
What are you counting?
Mounting. There are those curious thingamajigs that live up in the sky.
Pigs?
Oh, listen, please, I said the skies.
Can they be? Do you mean flies?
Don't make silly guesses, please. They're sometimes rather shiny.
Bees.
No, those things that gleam at night. When lazy people take delight in daydreams and such tra-la-las.
You mean the stars?
Every star's my private property.
How can a person own a star?
I find that question quite bizarre. When with pen and ink I've jotted the name a star has been allotted, I lock the paper in a drawer to prove my ownership in law.
On my planet there's a flower. I water her every hour and care for my 3 volcanoes so they don't smoke. I am useful to these things. Your stars don't know you exist. Do you think owning them is useful?
Useful. 102 give or take a few. 75, 110.
The prince remarked to himself that grown-ups are certainly extraordinary, and continued on his quest for wider worlds. But the next planet he found was very small. There was only room for one person and a lamp. It was the planet of the Lamplighter.
I light my lamp when the sun is sinking low, and wait for dawn's approving glow. And when the morning skies are bright, respectfully I douse the light. Good morning.
although this was the first person he met who seemed to think of something besides himself. The prince knew he could not stay. The planet was too small for them both. The Lamplighter suggested he visit the planet Earth, which, unlike the asteroids, was quite large. He spoke of Earth's beauty and that its own lamplighters come out each night and tend their lights, lighting them across all the world, an entire world alight with man-made stars.
We go to work when the light grows dim. In the evening sun is as bright as a pea. But the earth turns round, spinning like a top. So soft, when the other one's gone. Then back we quick, to sleepy days. In the first one's gone, all over again. We light our lamps in the oven queue. In the little corn, lying a kangaroo. The sun sinks low beneath the flickering sun. We will light the lamps on the earth, on the earth, each temples turning round. Of the lonely task that we practice, only once in every year round. It's a man-made day, in a heavenly night, as the earth turns round, our lanterns burn so bright. It's a man-made day, I'll go to Earth.
A year before the prince met the pilot, he fell to Earth. He was surprised to find it so empty. It was lonely. But then he saw his stars so far away, shining so brightly, because of the flower he had left behind. And very soon, not far from where he had fallen, he came across a snake who explained that there were no people in this part of Earth, because it was a desert. The prince thought the snake was a funny creature, so small and without even any legs. He laughed and said he couldn't be very powerful. The snake told him, "I am more powerful than a king's finger."
I can take you farther than a ship to a place none can name. That's far. Whoever I touch, I send back to the place from which he came. But you're young and weak, just an innocent child, away from home. Daring to dream that you find what you seek in a place so great and granite. Don't you miss your tiny planet? Aren't you lonely where you are? Let me ease your anxious mind. Let my little length enfold you, tightly coiled, close entwined, like a bracelet cast in gold. I will help you seek, I will help you find your way back home. You are travel far, you are finding your star.
Why do you talk in riddles?
Because saw them
The prince walked on. He climbed a mountain. He called out, "Hello!" but never heard an answer. The earth was empty as before. He walked through sand and rocks and snow. At last he found a garden full of common roses.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Who are you? We're roses, we're roses, we're roses. Our heads are in the air, grazing the gaze of the glare. Below we race, living our lives in our midsummer haze. Roses in the night, left with glory, December is luring. You will remember our firing, every cloud glimmer and glow. You will remember sunlight.
The prince had thought that in all the stars, his flower was unique. Now he'd found 1,000 other flowers as lovely, vain, and weak. Did it mean his flower was ordinary? Just one of a dozen silly roses on a silly little planet with a trio of volcanoes neatly swept? Was that all he was prince of? He wept.
Good morning. Who are you? You're very pretty. I'm a fox. You're a stranger here. Are you looking for chickens? No, I'm looking for friends. I miss my planet where my flower grows. I'm afraid now she's just an ordinary rose. Stay and play with me. Well, I can't play with you. I haven't been tamed. What does it mean to tame?
To me, you're just a little boy, that's putting it politely. To you, I'm just a fox, there's a million others like me. But if you tamed me, that will change. For me, you'd be the only boy I'd recognize. I'd be one in a million, I would be your moonrise. Don't you feel it's wonderful and strange that taming is so easy to arrange? A fox's life is like a book with a plot that never thickens. The hunters hunt the foxes, and the foxes hunt the chickens. Look across the valley, see that field of growing wheat. Its beauty doesn't interest me, there's nothing there to eat. But if you tamed me, once we made a tie, it'd be
Here's my secret. It's quite simple. Listen before you leave. Eyes can't see what is essential. Eyes deceive.
Anything essential is invisible to the eyes.
While you're searching, trust your heart. You're sure to find your prize. The heart sees far more clearly than the eyes.
One sees clearly only with the heart.
Now I'll tell you why your flower is the creature you most prefer. It's all the time you've spent on her.
It's the time I spend on my rose that makes my rose so important.
Tamers care for what they've tamed, as every tamer knows. You'll always be responsible for your rose.
I am responsible for my rose.
Farewell, my friend, although you weep, don't follow me or find me. I'll have the golden wheat field to remind
There's just one place where beauty grows. On earth, in space, there's no flower like my rose. Like my rose. And so, almost a year had passed since the little prince had fallen from his star to the planet Earth.
I've been hearing your adventures for the last 8 days, but there is something we need to talk about. My plane is a wreck. My water bottle's empty. If we don't find a well, we will die of thirst.
But my friend the fox once
This has
told me-
nothing to do with the fox. You don't understand the danger.
Even if you're going to die, it's nice to have had a friend. Come. I'm thirsty too. Let's look for a well. We will find it beneath my star.
They walked long and far.
I love the desert. What makes it beautiful is what cannot be seen.
I'm glad my pilot and my fox agree. I'm sleepy now. Eventually, the prince was too tired to go on. The pilot carried him in his arms.
His body felt so delicate, I feared that it might break. What I was holding was a shell, fragile and opaque. What mattered most was hidden deep inside that tiny frame. He was the lamp in which his love burned brightly as a flame.
Like a miracle, the well had everything they needed. A bucket, a pulley. It was like a well from a village.
Well, what are you waiting for? Aren't you thirsty?
The pilot understood what the prince had been looking for. This water was different from ordinary nourishment. Its sweetness was born of the walk under the stars, the song of the water, the effort of the pilot's strong arms to carry him and turn the pulley. The people of Earth raise 5,000 roses in the same garden, and they do not find in it what they are looking for. What they are looking for could be found in one single rose, or in a little water.
Once they felt refreshed and satisfied, the prince cautiously told the pilot it was time for him to return home to his own star. It was almost the anniversary of his fall to Earth. He told the pilot to go back to his airplane and return the next night to the spot by the well, which was not far from the place he first arrived. The pilot did not know that the prince would be visiting the snake, who promised to send him quickly back home to his star. When the pilot returned, he brought news that he had successfully repaired his airplane. Even so, quietly, his heart was heavy. He felt afraid, and he did not understand why.
I have to go now. My star is high above me, but please do not be upset. I'm not about to die. All that you see is just a shell, and there's nothing sad about a shell. Anything essential is invisible to the eye.
I'll miss your laugh.
Take it then. It is my present to you. My star is too small to find among the others, but you will look at the stars and you will know that I'm among them. Only you will have stars that can laugh.
I have the sheep, I have the crate, I have the muzzle I needed so. I must protect my rose. Don't keep me, let me go.
Out around the desert, the loveliest place on earth, the loneliest, the saddest. Watch it closely. If you see it, stay a moment. Wait a while beneath a star. And if a child arrives with golden hair, who laughs and disappears, make sure you tell me he's returned. I'll be consoled